it's going to get easier and easier to start a newsletter. Right now, it's already easiest that it's
Yeah.
been, and it's only going to get easier,
Mhm.
I think, for a while now.
Learn, connect, and grow with the affiliate mastermind show.
Welcome to this new episode of the Affiliate Mastermind. Today I have a very special guest. I have been following Emanuel Cinca from StackedMarketer since 2019, where he started a newsletter writing about affiliate marketing, later turned into marketing. And I'm very happy to have you here, Emanuel.
Thanks for having me. It's great to be here, and it's awesome to hear like that you've been a reader since 2019. It's I think I've met readers in when we started the newsletter at a few meetups, but you're the like nowadays you're like the oldest reader that I've met. So anyone confirmed that has been reading it for 6 years now, almost
Yeah.
almost 5 and something years.
Big respect here at that point for being consistent for so long as well. I mean, for me,
Wow,
it's
thank you.
easy reading the content, but for you to create it and send it out for so long, that's pretty cool.
Thank you. Yeah, we try to do our best every day, so hopefully that shows.
Yeah. So when people do some research on you, your name, your history, the first things that we will find is that even 6, 7, 8 years ago, you started as an affiliate yourself. Can you
Yeah,
tell us
yeah.
a little bit how you got into that?
Sure. So with affiliate marketing, it was a little bit, well, it was a pivot, significant pivot. To make a longer story short enough to, fit in the podcast. I moved to Vienna to start a business with a poker friend, and that business was IT related, so IT development, software development, things like that. After a while, we had some challenges, especially like with internal team. Things didn't quite work out with everything that way we wanted them. So we ended up having to think of a way to pivot, and one of those pivots was potentially affiliate marketing, which is funny enough because affiliate marketing was introduced to me because other people from the poker area were also doing affiliate marketing at some point. So when people wanted to do something else aside from playing poker professionally, affiliate marketing was one of the common options that they would try out. So that was kind of the path for me as well. So it wasn't, it wasn't sure that it would work out, but it was like a thing of like, okay, for the next, 2, 3 months, spend this amount of time like all in and try to hit these kind of goals. And if affiliate marketing makes money, then it's great. That's the new business that we have. And if not, we'll check out something else. And that was back in 2015. Yeah, around May 2015, I would guess. So like April, May 2015, something like that. I think it was when I first started out like, okay, sign up to the STM forum and, check out tutorials, deposit on some traffic sources and start running, like get approved by affiliate networks and then like start running some traffic.
Yeah, pretty epic times. I remember sitting on the sidelines, probably 2015-ish, around that, or 16, when there was, I don't even know if these guys are still active, but I think you're also friends, Andrew Payne, Charles Noe, and everyone,
Yeah, yeah.
Malin, Darros. Like there was this entire yeah, group of people, and I think you were
Mhm.
part of it, and everyone was, yeah, discovering this industry. And
For me, it was so I know Charles, he definitely started quite a few years earlier. Andrew Payne, he started around the same time as myself, I think, because we kind of like ended up in a few groups together, and yeah, we still keep in touch every now and then. He's doing other stuff now as well, I think more e-commerce related, but yeah.
Mhm.
So the only person that from the ones that you mentioned that I haven't actually run into ever is Malin. I know of him, so
Yeah,
it always comes out, but I never met him at a conference and such. I think he was kind of taking like a step back already by that time.
yeah. I imagine affiliate marketing in 2015 was very different than today. Maybe traffic
Yeah,
was cheaper, platforms weren't that restrictive, maybe. Um,
yeah. The funny thing is though that that's what people said of years before 2015 as well. So when I started, I was like, ah, yeah, it's good. But the good old days of like 3, 4 years
Yeah.
ago were even better. So
Yeah.
there's quite a bit of that going on. But I think it is true. Like things change quickly enough. So maybe that's like one of the biggest lessons from my affiliate days. It's that opportunities tend to last a few months to a year. It's not going to be
Mhm.
like the super long-term opportunities are probably not the things that small scale affiliates can benefit from as much. So I mean, you can say digital and mobile is a long-term opportunity, but the details of it, right? Like from display banners, from pop-ups, pop-unders, in-app ads, whatever. Like there's so many different things that happen there, and like technically Facebook is mostly for mobile traffic now anyway. So it changed a lot from the beginning, and yeah, that's probably like the one of the biggest lessons from the early days. It's like you have to kind of double down on things that work really quickly and let's say
Mm.
quite intensively, because otherwise you're going to miss the train. Like there's always
Gotcha.
going to be more that you could have done. You probably think of it.
Yeah. If the train is coming, then you really have to jump on it. Otherwise,
Yeah,
you will just
yeah,
miss it. Yeah. Okay.
yeah.
So, and what I learned, or what of all the affiliates I met in the past who became really good at media buying, for example, eventually they try to create their own offers,
Hmm.
or like in your case, a newsletter, just to build something for your own as well. Because maybe I don't know, I'm turning 40 this year, and I don't want to be chasing campaigns for the rest of my career. So it's what did or what was the reason for you to make a change to being running more of a media company yourself now?
So affiliate marketing started changing a fair bit by that point already. So there was a bit of a thought process of, trying to find other things that work really well in affiliate marketing or try to build like an own product type of thing,
Mm,
whatever that own product might be, whether it's an own offer, an own newsletter as it turned out to be, or something else. And in
e-commerce or
that,
drop shipping or
yeah,
something
yeah,
like
yeah,
that.
exactly. So in that process, I tested out a few things. And the logic there was like, okay, I could do, affiliate marketing. I was also working a bit with the STM forum. So like now it felt like the best time to try to do like an own product where there's, better control both of the acquisition side and the product side of things.
Hmm.
And like back then I was still single. It felt like if I take a risk, it's only on me anyway. So
Hmm.
whatever risk I take, it's fine. Like it doesn't affect other people much at all. So it felt like it's still the moment to do this. And then through some research, ran into found a few other options. And then one of the things that stood out to me back then when testing things out and when trying things and doing research, as I said, was Morning Brew. So that's a newsletter for now it's kind of
Hmm.
mainstream, but back then it was very much focused on financial news and investment news. And since I'm also interested in investing in finance, it felt like a great newsletter. Like it was really interesting. And I was thinking like, yeah, I could read this regularly. I wonder if there's anything like this for, marketing, affiliate marketing. So for my industry. And when I
Hmm.
tried to find things that are similar, couldn't find anything. So the next step was like, okay, let's try it out. So started off with a Google Doc internally, shared then with the affiliate friends as a proper landing page. So actually sending emails, but still very much behind the scenes. And that's how it started. Like I literally talked to people one on one, like, "Hey, trying to do this. Can you put your email here and let me know what you think of the things that I send you?" So that's kind of how this started out, and that's also the reason of the timing. So
Yeah.
that was 2018 around April. I mean, the whole idea like the idea of doing an own product started early 2018.
Hmm.
So January to March was testing a lot of other stuff, fair bit of other things, but this was the thing that worked out the best, the newsletter.
Did you have to do many split tests of different products until you found like this that is working now? Like, did you had some failures on the way or
Yeah, yeah,
flops
yeah.
totally?
So it's funny. So the one thing that I kind of followed when trying to do an own product was I forgot exactly which of the books from Russell Brunson, but basically his the one about getting traffic and getting
Traffic
creating a
secrets,
product.
probably.
Yeah, I think Traffic Secrets it was. So essentially, I liked the idea overall of rather than doing just media buying like I did before. So like you always pay for each impression. The idea of having a subscriber base that you can reach, let's say for free, right? Like only the tools that cost you to reach them. Um, so then we tried a few types of lead magnets in that space to kind of build a list, as people would say. Didn't really work out so well. The funny thing was that one of the things that looked promising was something related to cryptocurrency, but then like Google Ads banned those ads immediately after. So I was like, okay, like it showed some promise, it was fine, and then like, okay, not allowed, because it's also like the idea was like, okay, this space has a lot of noise anyway. So if we do some actual proper research, there might be an edge here. So if we don't try to, kind of bullshit people, there might be some interesting things there. But then, traffic sources change rules and then the product is gone.
Gotcha.
So it would not have been a clear winner, so to speak, but it was like, oh, it's interesting. Let's see how it goes with this. But then like, prepared things, and then less than a week later it's like, oh, you're not allowed to run these ads anymore starting 3 weeks later or whatever. There was a bit of a notice period, but I'm like, yeah, so don't build more if you cannot run ads for it,
That's
because Facebook had
interesting.
already banned the ads for it, I think. So that was that was interesting to say the least, something like that. But yeah, so then this was like the third, fourth thing. Like we did some e-commerce tests, but those were not promising enough to even like consider them. It's like if basically we just tested the concept and yeah, you don't get enough clicks and views and like actual signups or like demands, pre-orders or anything like that. So
Yeah.
just yeah, this was the interesting one that um it had a big benefit of the fact that I actually would consider myself a potential reader of the newsletter if I
hmm
didn't write it, right? So that was
hmm
the magic point maybe there of like, oh, this is cool. Does it exist for my industry? No. So then I want to create it. While all the
Yeah.
other things were like, oh, this is an industry that seems to have, some hype around it, some potential, should try to get into it, but I don't care enough about it. You know what I mean?
Gotcha. I recently read a book from Seth Godin called The Dip. Have you
Mm-hmm.
ever heard of it?
No, I've only heard of Seth Godin in general, but I haven't heard of this book. Is it a newer one of his, or
Yeah, it's called The Dip.
because he has
It's
several books, right?
it's a
So,
it's a very very short book. I have it here, but it doesn't matter. I can
hmm.
and there, he explains the concept that whatever you start, it always starts with excitement and everything. And this
Hmm.
can be any product you can find. Basically, you can affiliates can get excited about the latest gadgets to promote.
Yeah,
But when the time as time goes by, as the campaign gets harder and harder, maybe CPMs go up, margins go small, then you're entering some kind of dip,
hmm,
which is where most of the people drop out because
hmm,
they eventually will say, I don't love this gadget enough to go through all this pain to make it work eventually, maybe one, two,
yeah,
3 years later. So it's definitely much easier to go through that dip if you're creating something that you actually want yourself. It's like this newsletter. You want to read this
yeah.
content, and that's why maybe it was easier for you to go through such a dip because other people maybe they would have dropped out 6 months later, maybe.
Yeah, I think actually that's true. So when starting it out, I still wanted to think like, okay, what are some, advantages that I have if someone wants to do the same concept when we started out? So like, the idea is simple, so people can just try it out. They can steal the idea very easily
Mm.
once it's out there in theory. But there was two things that kind of made me think of it. And the main one was actually like nobody is dumb enough to go through so much effort for such a small return at the beginning.
That's the
So,
dip, yeah.
so that's the dip thing. Like it's differently phrased, but it's like because a lot of people, especially nowadays, when they start newsletters, they have a big pre-existing audience. They're like, yeah, we
Mm,
get 10K subscribers to begin with, and things like that. I have
mhm.
plans to monetize it. All these sort of things. That it sounds much simpler, or at least many people have it kind of planned out that way. But for me, it was like, yeah, I don't have a social following. I know a few people in the affiliate marketing space. I can ask for some help, which worked out because it wasn't literally zero. It was like just close enough to zero to have a long shot to make it. But then, yeah, going through that, 5 to 6 months period of like, okay, testing uncertainty. Can you monetize?
Hmm.
How do things work out? Like, can you turn into a business for it to, be your main occupation? A lot of question marks that I thought like, okay, not so many people would do it. So either they would have too much money to go through this pain,
Hmm.
or they would not be able to deal with it for so long anyway. So
Yeah. Did you during that time still ran affiliate campaigns or?
no, so this was the only thing that I was focusing on from, let's say, that
Okay.
moment on. It was like, it was similar to affiliate marketing. So when I got into affiliate marketing,
Hmm.
it felt like I was doing, 3, 4 times compared to other people that I was in those study groups with or like follow alongs, because a lot of people were doing it as a side job for like, 2 hours there or something. But I was there all day. So I
Hmm.
was just like, okay, launching the campaign while I wait for this kind of approval. I'm already preparing ads for the next day. I'm looking for other offers that are similar, researching what other geos I could run the same offer in, or things like that. So it was already like full-time testing in a way. I
Yeah.
had the luxury of being financially secure enough to do that. So
Yeah. And it's very hard to compete with someone who is dedicated like you were. If someone else is just for 1 hour a day or so, it's very hard to
yeah,
compete here.
especially in an industry that changes so much, because there were
Hmm.
things that were working well for us for like a month, but then
Hmm.
people who couldn't just take advantage of it, like, couldn't go in and then run traffic for a month, it's too late. So if you're really part-time on the sidelines, it's hard to, I think even if you learn the concepts, it ends up being hard taking advantage of and getting your return on investment when the opportunity presents itself sometimes.
Yeah. Now you mentioned follow-alongs,
Mhm.
and there's one thing. So the follow-alongs in affiliate marketing is very similar to what you're doing with Stacked Marketer. You're building in public,
Mhm.
and while not yet, I'm not building my affiliate business in public, but I was building my first campaigns always inside the forum,
Mhm.
which is follow-alongs.
Mhm.
And I was surprised that the more I shared about my campaigns, the more people who were ahead of me and had more experience and were better than me, they started to notice, started to pop in, and also started to help me, point me into other directions, which resulted in my very first successful campaigns. And now I wonder, why do you build Stack Marketer in public? And do you experience the same?
To some extent, yes. So I had a similar experience for follow-alongs. So once people see that you're showing some potential, that you can solve some problems, you can figure some things out, you connect with them, because nobody can solve all the problems. So then if you have a
Mhm.
few friends that face similar challenges or different challenges in the same industry, they might solve problems that come up for you later. So it becomes like mutually beneficial, even though you're less experienced at first. So similar experience for follow-alongs. And then for the, let's say, the building in public part, um, it's we try to explain it for every of the annual reports that we publish, where we basically talk about most of the things that happened in the previous year and where we share most of the information. The thing is, even though we give away some information, maybe that some competitors could use in some ways, so
Mhm.
that's certain that it can happen. The idea is, or like I think the key concepts are twofold there. So one, when sharing just a broad overview, even though it's, let's say, behind the scenes and a lot of people will keep it private, the real secret and the thing that is hard to replicate is acting in the moment when things happen. So in hindsight, looking back at things, it's always going to be easier, but you don't know what will happen, what comes up next, and how you solve your problems and when they come up. So that or like how you take advantage of certain opportunities that come up, things like that. So that's still going to be a real-time decision for companies, even though they might learn some things from us, and they might compete with us in different ways. But the other thing is that I think it creates, it just it creates a better experience for everyone who reads StackedMarketer because they can see behind the scenes more what we do, creates more trust. Like we're pretty much, we're quite open with a lot of the things that we do or the things that we decided not to do. Even when things don't go so well. And then it just came as an idea, like it's probably good to have some smart people see what we do, and then at some point, they might connect with us, which kind of happened. So we noticed from the early days that we got some really interesting and constructive feedback from readers. So then we thought, okay, readers who are on our newsletter, they tend to be more entrepreneurial marketers, business people as well. So they might have good input based on these things. So we shared the annual report as well. And then regularly we get some sort of feedback, some sort of replies, things come up and some opportunities present themselves. I think the most obvious one is back in 2023, summer 2023, was it? Something like that. Like I don't want to summer 2023, or like late summer, around September maybe. We decided to raise an investment round, and some of the investment that we raised then was because some people were following us for a while. So we didn't have to, start from zero with such a thing. Our results over the years were public. So then people could just be like, okay, so what are you looking for? Why are you doing this? Just have a conversation. And then if things were okay, they would say like, okay, yeah, count me in, and, let's talk details. Let me know when you have, actual contracts and stuff like that. So it helped there as well. It was, made it much easier than when starting from zero and like, oh, what business do you have? How much money do you make? How much money could you make? Things like that. So yeah, it wasn't initially with that plan, but it served a purpose, and maybe in the future will be useful for other things too.
And also, this transparency creates a lot of trust, maybe. And since we are all entrepreneurial and marketers, we love looking at data and stats, anyways. So
Yeah.
it's also a very interesting piece of content just to look at what a business does and how it's going. And I think
It's
that's pretty
usually
interesting too, like as a
yeah,
piece
it's
of
usually the
content
most
itself.
clicked. Yeah, it's usually the most clicked, or one of the top five most clicked in the
Mm.
year when we shared it. I think this year maybe it won't make it so high, but usually it's one of the most engaging pieces of content that we share in the newsletter. And also on the trust thing, it's like with marketing, you also see that there's some people who tend to do like too much marketing, like they over market themselves. So we
Yeah.
wanted to kind of take the approach of like, we're gonna put some actual data out there and see how things really are, because it's never perfect and it's never that bad. Like
Mhm.
some people might want to paint the perfect picture on social all the time. It's not always perfect, but it's also let's say things can be pretty good even with the challenges that come forward. So that's one of the things that I think maybe people appreciate. They can see like, okay, what are the if it looks good, how hard is it on the inside? Or if it looks really bad, how bad is it on the inside, type of thing?
Yeah. Well, speaking of what is it actually harder to run a newsletter than it is to just be an affiliate running campaigns, or what is needed to make a newsletter great?
Ooh, I think it depends a bit what type of person you are. So if you're someone who always needs a new challenge, I think affiliate campaigns might be better.
All
So
right.
you jump around doing
Yeah.
different campaigns in different industries, different niches a bit more. With a
Mhm.
newsletter, it's more like a steady grind where you're never going to have like, or almost never going to have that, 10x explosion in your ad spend and the return is slower.
Mhm.
But on the other hand, the downside of it is probably also lower at some point. Maybe early on, you can always risk completely failing. But I would say like now, it's like the chances of the newsletter or the company not existing are much lower compared to the chances of campaign drying out.
Yeah,
So
because you never start from zero. Now, how many subscribers
yeah.
do you have? Over 100,000, I believe.
Yeah, so across all our three newsletters, we have around 100,000
Yeah, so you never
subscribers.
start from zero. Like on the
Yeah,
first of the month, you don't have to build a new campaign. You can
yeah,
build on
correct.
you can build on work you did before.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So you also have, even though there's not a subscription, there are regular sponsors who
Oh yeah.
almost certainly that it will come back. At least some of them will always come back to book more placements. So there's revenue coming in. Like you never start from zero, like you said. So,
Yeah.
but it comes with different challenges, and
Mhm.
sometimes there are challenges that you cannot really control. That's kind of with affiliate marketing, but the challenge comes and then it's like you cannot just say okay, campaign is done, let's jump to the next one, right? So you just have
Right.
to face the challenges that come. While if it's random example, Facebook banned my ad account, I'm just going to go to Google maybe because I didn't
Mhm.
try Google. Like you could try to get other Facebook accounts or you can just go to Google, whatever you prefer. Like you have more options. Well, with the newsletter it's like, oh, Apple Mail privacy changed this. Like, oh, so you're not going to do email anymore? No, you
Yeah.
still going to have to do email. So it's like that's the whole business now.
Yeah. So what's what you say is the biggest challenge for you or for email businesses in general? The inbox and
Um, well, I think for newsletters, because there's different kind of email businesses, right? So if you have an email list, mostly focused on promoting either consultant, like as a consultancy to promote your
mhm.
services or info products or something like that, I think the challenges are different compared to us, where the main revenue from us is from sponsors. So ad revenue is the biggest, revenue line for us. So um, either way, deliverability is probably a big challenge and something that people have to be careful about. It's not rocket science, but you just have to be consistent and do that regularly. Just like clean your list, get engagement on the first email, get replies
Mhm.
as much as possible to the first email. Those are like the basics. Let's see how things change with the new Apple Mail inbox if there's more data coming in with the new update because they introduced tabs not so long ago. I'm not sure if the update rolled out for everyone yet, even. Um, so that might be change things. But for Gmail, which is the dominant player, get engagement on the first email, and then you're more likely to go in the primary inbox. That's really
Mhm.
important. And I think those are challenges universally over email. Even like if you're doing e-commerce, if you're doing affiliate
Mhm.
marketing over email, if you're, whatever you're doing, though, that's universal. Because if you don't reach the person's inbox, nobody reads your email, so you don't get any traffic.
Yeah,
So
100%.
and that was a thing that I had to learn from the beginning that I didn't really think about it. I thought like, oh, if someone opts in and then they read it, it's going to be good. It's not true. Like you need more positive engagement regularly.
How do you yeah, keep engagement? I mean, what I like to do is with my morning coffee. I think that's also where the morning brew idea came from.
Yeah, yeah,
That in
probably.
you drink your coffee and read the industry news. I feel the same with Stacked Marketer. For me, it's interesting. I'm a marketer. I like reading that stuff. And yeah, is it a challenge for you to, I don't know, stay consistent with the type of content you write? Or, I mean, I think you mentioned somewhere adding your own voice and
Mhm.
having a good mix between professional and maybe once in a while you throw in a joke or something.
Mhm.
So, how's that content process for you?
Yeah, so it's something that evolved over time. When starting it out, it was much more, let's say, my voice in a way.
Mhm.
Um, it wasn't the same as this conversation. It was supposed to be, more entertaining voice when, writing about affiliate marketing or like marketing in general. But then from those things, you can extract certain key points, and then you can also iterate based on the feedback. So um, it's a little bit of art, a little bit of science behind it. But literally, we document the persona that's writing the newsletter. So we try to describe what they like, what they don't like, what they talk about, you know, we don't literally mention the age, but it's like what
Mhm.
kind of pop culture references do they make?
Mhm.
And one funny example from recently is like we had in hindsight, or like now that I know the context, that was a good phrasing, a good joke about something felt like upgrading from A to Z to GPS maps or something like that. But nobody except from the person who wrote it from the UK know that A to Z or A to Z, I guess, from the
Yeah.
UK is like maps, like physical maps company or something like that. Like in the US, that's not common. In Austria, Romania, I never heard of them either.
Mm-mm.
So the joke was good for for a UK audience, probably. So then we took that out because we were like, okay, if nobody gets it, it means most of our readers won't get it. Although after Googling what that is, it makes sense and it's good. But if you don't just get it, it's
Yeah.
not a good enough thing to keep in there. So like these sort of things, then they get added to like an actual documentation where it's like, okay, most of our readers are from the US and internationally, US pop culture is more known. So if you have pop culture references, make sure that they're like kind of US folk or like the US knows about them.
Hmm.
Yeah, things like that. So all these sort of things get added there. Um, and there's also more subtle things. Like we have a section called the poolside chat
Yeah. And the
where
riddles also.
yeah, yeah. So brain teas are super popular. We
Brain
try to
teaser,
take it
yeah.
out. Yeah, we try to take it out, and then people reply like, "Hey, did you forget it or did you remove it? Please add it back in." Very very good sign though overall because people were replying for us to put that back in. And then the other thing for poolside chat, it's kind of an off-topic section, but still things that people in the category of age online marketing might care about. And we had a variety of things there, but there we noticed like, okay, if we post something like negative news, it's just like we get more negative replies about it.
Hmm.
Then we just set it up as a rule like, okay, in poolside chat we want to end the newsletter on a high note, on a like
Hmm.
positive high note, something funny, entertaining, wholesome. So stay away from anything that could be like relevant but negative. So create like a just sad or angry or any sort of reaction like that, negative
Hmm.
emotions. But you probably like as a reader, you probably don't notice that we literally put that in our documentation. You probably just stop getting upset about certain things we put there. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Pretty cool. Pretty cool. And it's also makes me look forward to the next newsletter, I guess, instead of remembering it from the last negative experience.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Hopefully that also helps. I mean, I think most people still read it for the marketing news, but like you notice with the brain teaser, with the riddles,
Yeah.
they have an effect, even though they are, let's say, kind of off topic.
Honestly, it speaks a lot about the audience in the most positive way. Because if I remember your media kit correctly, there's over 40% are C-level and management executives, like
And founders. So we
and
include
founders.
founders
Yeah,
there as well. Yeah.
yeah,
So the size of the businesses that we have, I would say they're more SMBs in terms of
yeah,
the
exactly.
reads. So then still many of them are still founders, not, we don't have the founder of like, I don't know, Mark Zuckerberg is probably not reading our newsletter. But
Who
if you are
knows?
the yeah, if he uses his actual email, I might be able to look for it. But if
Yeah.
it's someone who runs a direct to consumer brand or an
Mhm.
agency
Mhm.
or even affiliate campaigns, they
Yeah.
probably might be reading our newsletter.
And if they want brain teasers, that's also like cool how nerdy we as your audience are. I mean, it's not only being interested in the industry, but also interested in thinking and solving issues and problems. Like that's a
Mhm.
natural reaction, probably. That if you read something that and you want to solve it.
It also makes some fun conversations because um, I forgot exactly how long ago, but this year there was one where someone was really like insisting that we got it wrong. So then it was a conversation of and also trying to not just explain in words, but actually like draw it out with characters. There was something about a worm in a book, and then how far did it eat through the book? And the way it was explained is like when the book is put on the shelf and what people forget is like the order of the pages from left to right on the shelf is opposite. It's not 1 to 300, like one to whatever the book length is. You start from the left, you have the last page. So the way the riddle was, you had to really think
Oh.
about it, how you put it on the shelf, and then because the worm, where is the worm eating from, which direction, and how many pages, and how much of the book. So a few people were like, "No, no, you're wrong for this reason." No, no, think about it. Like if you take the book and put it on the shelf, if it goes from left to right, you're on this part. So yeah, funny conversation. But like people get really into it. That's the
Yeah,
cool part. So
I love
it's
it.
not just like whatever. It's like no, no, no. I want to solve this or understand this.
Yeah, and that's pretty cool. And it also speaks uh, it speaks very much how the readers are really invested into the newsletter and in the content, and how good the relationship is that you have with your readers and vice versa. That's
Mhm.
pretty cool. You don't have that if you just shoot out traffic to an offer.
That's true. That's true. So I
Yeah,
think these sort of experiences are not something you can replicate with affiliate marketing.
for sure. So speaking of awesome relationships with readers, you already mentioned cleaning email lists and stuff like that to make sure the list is always a good quality. For those people who don't know, what does it mean to clean an email list?
So over time, inevitably, you will have people who subscribe to your email list who will stop engaging, will stop opening, stop reading, stop clicking. And the higher proportion of people don't engage with your list are on your list and you send to them, the lower your reputation ends up being with things like Gmail. I always use this as an example because it's the biggest that's actually clear how to interact with it, so to speak. So the higher proportion of inactive subscribers that get your newsletter or your emails, the higher the lower your reputation, and the higher the chances for Gmail to put you in the promotions and tab, and then eventually probably even in the spam tab.
Hmm.
So you want to clean your list to have as high a proportion as possible of people who actually engage with your list. So who open, who click, who reply. And the order is actually in reverse if you care what's the most engaged, like the biggest positive signal is replies, then clicks,
Hmm.
then opening. Opening
Hmm.
it is not a huge deal anymore.
Hmm.
And it's also something that we do for people who are new and subscribed. So like if they newly subscribed and they never open, never engage, they also get a re-engagement and then get taken off the list. I think
Hmm.
maybe that's something people underestimate because they think, I'll just get a lot of traffic from Facebook and send and, in 2 months, 3 months, 6 months, I'll take them off if they don't engage. Doesn't really work so well because by that time you've sent so many emails. So you have to take
Yeah.
out new people who are not engaging as well. Um, and yeah, like those things help a lot. And last but not least, you have to think of it not just of the people who are already subscribed and they already have, like maybe they added you as a contact and they engage already. So maybe they are, forever engaged and it's great. But you have a lot of newcomers to your list regularly. Inevitably, people unsubscribe. There's
Hmm.
newcomers as well. Um, those new people on your list, very often they start from, let's say, from zero, from neutral. So depending on what your sender reputation is, that's how you start with them. So if you have great reputation and engagement, you start in their inbox. If you have so-so,
Hmm.
you probably go into promotions. And if you just have awful reputation, you probably start in their spam. So how hard is it to go from spam to inbox, right?
Hmm.
So the better reputation you keep, the easier it is to also onboard and retain new subscribers.
That's an excellent point. That if you would run ads, for example, to grow your email list, but your sender reputation is bad, then every new subscriber will most likely land in spam.
Yeah, so you
From
don't gain the
Yeah,
subscriber in the
exactly.
end.
Wow, that's a pretty cool ninja hack. So for everyone who's listening, write that down. Um,
Yeah, I think a lot of these things apply for affiliate marketing as well. If you're doing affiliate
mhm.
marketing focused on email lists, the deliverability part is across the
Yeah,
board applicable.
yeah, 100%. And even as an affiliate marketer, and if it's not my own products, when I write my newsletters, I send out emails as well, like every day. Most of the days, twice, morning and in the evening. But I always have this mindset that I'm writing to one person, even though I
Mhm.
send it out to 30,000 or 1,000 people. I always write it as if it was a message from me to you. And
Mhm.
I also sometimes ask them just how did you like this email? Or would you like to read more about it? Just to ask something so they reply to
Yeah,
me. So,
that's cool.
yeah.
Yeah, we now that you mentioned that, we also had that as a rule. Like, okay, never address everyone who's reading
Mhm.
the newsletter. Just always focus on you as an individual who's reading the newsletter. I think
Yeah.
unless we have some context where we say something like, our reader, we have now 100,000 people reading our newsletter. Like in that
Hmm.
context, of course, it makes sense. But when we want to say, we just say you. We don't say like like dear reader or anything like that.
Yeah,
Or
exactly.
we
Hi,
wanted to
friend.
send everyone this thing. It's like, no, it's you.
Yeah, exactly. Because most of the time it's me only, the only one reading this email anyways. Like
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
not me and other people's around me. It's
yeah.
really, yeah.
So I think that's also like a subtle, a small thing that helps a lot in the long term for just as a copywriting, content writing tip, I think.
Yeah, 100%. And also for the strategy, um, people get hung up on open rates, for example. But
Hmm.
but all these metrics and KPIs are important. I don't want to say the opposite. KPIs are important, but in the end of the day, it's not 20 or 30% open rate. It's 20 or 30 from 100 people opening your emails. If that open rate is right, anyways, because this metric is not so stable anymore.
Yeah.
But behind every KPI, there's real human people who read and engage with your content. So for me as an affiliate trying to sell something in every email, it's super important to not just look at the numbers as numbers only, but also trying to understand what's in what state of mind that person is. Maybe remind them of their problem and then present the solution and stuff. Basic copywriting.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, it makes a big difference. It's like the numbers, the KPIs need the right context around them. So not just, okay, what's the number, but it's like, why is the number the way it is, maybe? So trying to understand that. So
mm,
the easy example now is like, oh, I have great open rate. It's 50%. Why? Well, because everyone is an Apple Mail privacy protection
mm,
user. So
pre-opened.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, Apple just preloads your email and your
Mm,
open pixel, and that's it. So then you have to look at the click-through rate more than the open rate. So in that context, I think it changes quite a bit. And I think that's one thing where we also try to do a good job. It's like we try not to kind of fool ourselves with the stats. Like we try to,
mhm,
as I said, clean our list as much as possible from everything that's
mhm,
not correct data, and then take it from there. Because otherwise, it's just we're fooling ourselves. In the end, it's like it's whether it's affiliate marketing or our own product in this case, like we need to know the reality of it to make the best decisions and to make it profitable. Like we cannot just say like, oh, high engagement, that's great. Okay,
yeah.
what's the result for sponsors? How many subscriptions are we selling?
Mhm.
Oh, nothing. Like, well, that's not so great then.
Yeah. Is it open rate something that advertisers are looking at, or is the click more important to them?
It
The
changed
unique.
over time. So definitely there's been a change and an adjustment. So now it's more about how many clicks, how much traffic do they gain? And then
Mhm.
from that, they kind of calculate how many leads would they be able to get,
Gotcha.
what's their conversion rate and stuff.
Hmm.
But in the beginning, they cared about open rate way more. And
Hmm.
even now, there's some who still say like, what's your total subscriber base, which is very strange to me because it's like, I can have how many subscribers I want. Like getting someone's email is the easy part. Getting them to actually engage with what you're sending is the valuable part.
Yeah.
So I'm surprised that there's still like a 1 to 5% of sponsors who just look at the total subscriber base, mainly. Most experienced sponsors, they just look at the full context. So they're like, okay, so you
Hmm.
have this open rate. It's pretty good, or maybe it's below average, maybe it's above average. But what's the rest looking like? I'm like, okay, this is good, this is good. Okay, so even though maybe your total subscribers are not so high, your open rate is pretty good, and then whoever comes converts. So okay, all in
Mm.
all, it adds up. So that's how most people look at it. But instead of starting with the subscribers, they often now look, okay, how much traffic do I get? What's my conversion rate? And then work from there.
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't make any sense to send to 1 million irrelevant people about a very specific offer. So it's better to send to 100,000 super specific people. Yeah, instead
Yeah,
makes
something more
a lot of
targeted.
sense. So do you have any? So okay, now we know that people subscribe and eventually sometimes maybe they change careers, maybe they go out of business. Whatever the reasons are, people stop reading it. Maybe you unsubscribe them or they unsubscribe themselves. And is so in my email business, for example, I noticed at some point the churn rate was pretty much the same as the new leads that I was buying in. For example, 1,000 people would drop off and I would buy 1,000 again. So, but for a long time, I was just flatlining. Like
Hmm.
I was at around 20K subscribers. It was very difficult to get to 30 because yeah, there was always 1,000 people falling off and 1,000 new people coming in.
Hmm.
So the number was always the same, even though it was
There was a
lower.
turnover there. So you had new eyes, but the same total amount in the end.
Yeah, exactly. So do you see something similar, or what are your secrets to growing?
Well, we've had that several times. Like we've had these sort of cycles, and one of like most recently, even like the whole of 2024 was pretty similar to us because um we had a growth plan based on a certain amount of revenue, which we couldn't really hit. So we saw like, okay, we're not going to reach that revenue. We cannot just spend money without making
Hmm.
money. So then we adjusted like how much we spend on growth. And then in the end, we kind of ended up with like the situation where you said, where it's like, okay, breaking even on subscribers, slight growth, maybe something like that. And then a lot of them just being, as you said, some people churning out and then new people coming in. So there's no magical way to solve that. But when we got stuck into these sort of situations before, what helped was just looking at other channels, trying new things. That
Hmm.
was literally it. So it's kind of like initially it was the first few thousand subscribers was with some partnerships from with bloggers and groups in the affiliate space. Well, with them, very quickly we got a few thousand subscribers. It was great, but then there was not much more to gain from there. Then we did some partnerships with the other communities. We tried a referral program. So like people,
Hmm.
they would get a unique link. So they would share our newsletter and get different sort of prizes if they got someone to subscribe. So
Hmm.
that was another that was like one way to push past the first wall of like growth. Then later on, another thing that we discovered, especially as we started to get some revenue going for ourselves, one of the best ways to reinvest to get engaged newsletter subscribers was to advertise in other newsletters.
Hmm.
We got a period where we could advertise in a few things like Morning Brew, The Hustle, and
Hmm.
1440, some pretty big
Hmm.
newsletters.
Hmm.
They had low rates because of COVID and such. Like a lot of budgets were cut, so we had an opportunity to spend some money with them at a very good rate for ourselves, and that was also like again pushed us to the next stage of growth overall. So it's just with those sort of things, just trying to find new eyes in a way, more scalability. Paid social also helps quite a bit for us, at least.
Hmm.
With Facebook, it's like you have to iterate quite a bit. You have to be patient to check that people are actually not churning too fast from Facebook, like that you actually reach the right audience for your specific goal, right? Because maybe that's again a good time to reiterate. Getting people to subscribe can be very easy, but getting them to stick around and engage is the hard part. So you have
Yeah.
to really check if they're engaged when you're like targeting a specific audience. So it takes a bit of time, and then when you see that it works, you can scale it up a fair bit. So that can work pretty well with Facebook ads.
Yeah.
But yeah, so those are kind of like the main, let's say, the stages of finding new bits of uh, marketing channels where we could push through to get to like close to 100,000 now. It's actually a funny thing. Like also when doing research about how others do it, it was kind of similar. It's like um, I remember a story from Morning Brew where a lot of like at some point one of the most impactful ways they got new subscribers was when Instagram introduced the story ads. They were still very new, very cheap, very
Hmm.
engaging, and they just got engaged subscribers for under $1 per subscriber, which in the US and for B2B almost type
Hmm.
of scenario was,
Yeah.
extremely good. So
Yeah.
that really exploded their growth as well for a short period of time. Because now it's not so good. It's still, worth it probably in many cases, but it's not as good as it was before. So maybe new traffic sources like that when there's new ad formats, new apps, maybe threads from Meta from Facebook will be an interesting traffic source in the near future. Who knows?
I heard from all other big newsletter operators that email traffic, like buying ads from other newsletters, had one of the highest quality subscribers because if, for example, if I would advertise in your newsletter, which means someone is opening your newsletter, is reading the content, clicking on an ad, and then subscribing to something. So this person is a highly engaged email user, pretty much. So the quality of that lead for another newsletter would be actually really high because at
Yeah.
least we know this person is an active email user
Yeah.
compared to, I don't know, maybe a Facebook ad where you can have fantastic leads, but you can also have extremely unengaged leads. I mean, for me, it was
Yeah.
always split testing Facebook ads going to my landing page and then subscribing, or having them subscribe already on the lead form.
Hmm.
And
Yeah, we did the
sim-
same.
and for me, the lead quality on the lead form was way lower because they did it. It was just easier for them to subscribe. They didn't
Pre-filled with an email from Facebook, right?
pre-filled exactly. Was it the same for you?
A few things. So when we first started it out, it was similar. And the no no no. So when we first started out, it was a little bit better from the lead form. But then we felt like, look, this doesn't quite make sense because look how many people are churning, even though they're coming from the lead form. So it's like the people who stay are okay, like they're a little bit more engaged than people who come from the website or like
Mhm.
Facebook and then website, but they churn so much and from the beginning. So let's try to optimize some things. And the main thing that changed a fair bit for us is um, the audience that we're targeting, instead of targeting people, let's say lookalikes of all subscribers or something like that, we
Mhm.
just target people who are like, we try to create lookalikes of engaged subscribers. So things like people who click the first link in the welcome email is a good
Mm.
type of like a good lookalike, because those are people who, like you said, even more intent, right? They signed up, they opened your welcome email, and they clicked on it to like continue to like see what you have to say. Maybe they
Yeah.
replied as well. So if you can do these sort of things where you take like the lookalike of the more engaged, in-depth audience, even on the on the front end, when you just get the subscribers, it will help in the end.
Yeah.
And right now we do have it to the website, because another, like, maybe not a huge trick, but it's still helpful. So we have more than one newsletter, but we run ads for StackedMarketer, the daily newsletter. And then once someone subscribes on our website to StackedMarketer, the daily newsletter, they also get psychology of marketing and tactics recommended. So the
Mhm.
growth can pour into the other newsletters very quickly if things work well. Well, with the lead form, you cannot do that.
Correct. That's pretty cool because you're buying the one subscriber basically, and maybe they will cross sign up to your
Yeah,
one or two
yeah.
other newsletters. So, how important is the CPL still for you? Would you, you don't have to break even or profit on the acquisition itself. Is that something you're looking at, really?
Yeah, so it's something that we try to look at regularly. So we want to get a low enough CPO that it's worth it. And the funny thing is that um, you cannot have in a way, like, it's not a static goal. So for example, the CPO that was good in 2021 is not
Mm.
necessarily a CPO that's good right now. So you have to
Mhm.
kind of look, okay, I try to look at it in terms of how many months of revenue till we break even based on the
Mhm.
CPL. So like, what's our
Mhm.
revenue in the past, 6 to 12 months?
Mhm.
How's the future looking like? And then estimate, okay, how many months will it take us to,
Yeah,
get break even point for that new subscriber? And
correct.
then based on that, you can think of like, okay, sometimes the CPL is, and also you can also think of that not just as a static CPL universally, but you can switch it to, oh, Facebook has to be lower because the engagement is lower. If we get it from a newsletter subscriber, we know that it's, 2, 3 times more engaging. So 2x the CPL will be fine, because we know
Gotcha.
that the break even point is even sooner, maybe, even though it's more
Mhm.
expensive. So there's a little bit of dynamic decision making that happens there. But yeah, so like we do look at it and we try to lower it overall, but lowering it within this context. And then we've had a couple of situations, even for Facebook audiences or Facebook ads, where looking at the engagement of it, it was like, okay, the CPL is a bit lower for this one, but the engagement is so much higher for this kind of audience that this is the one that we have to run. So it's like it's a better ROI in the end for this one. So yeah, but the important part is also knowing your revenue per subscriber, or at least approximating it, and then understanding it that it changes fairly quickly. So calculating an LTV is something that people want to do a lot with newsletter businesses, and you can do it, but again, it's like it's dynamic enough because
Yeah.
things, if there's no marketing budget for sponsors, your revenue will go down. If there's again like infinite money in the system, your ads will start paying off way more, so that you can afford to pay more.
Yeah.
And I think these sort of market dynamics and just those were things that I was not as good at without experiencing them before, like in the past couple of years. But I think those are the things where you can get a fairly significant edge overall, not just in newsletters, probably in many businesses, just kind of realizing when it's the time to just double, triple down on things. And when it's the opposite, like even though it might look good because of the past, the future doesn't look so promising.
Yeah. When you have now, for example, if you would be in a position right now to double down, and you could say by the end of this year, our subscriber base will be twice the size. Are your advertisers scaling with you, or will they still pay the same prices like in December than they are paying now?
I think now for like from what I'm seeing in like the first quarter of this year so far, I would say no. I think it's still not a big increase in terms of marketing budgets from companies. Like two things changed. The KPIs are, tighter a bit compared to a few years ago
Mhm.
because companies don't have as much money raised, so they're not as trying to. It used to be that people were trying, or like companies were trying to grow at all costs. It's like we have the budget, we just have to show growth. Doesn't matter at what KPI in the end.
Mhm.
That's not the case. So then there's that. And then it's also a question, if we double our subscriber base, do we actually double the traffic that we give to a
Mhm.
specific type of sponsor? So as an example, let's say there's an affiliate network sponsoring our newsletter, and we have, a certain segment of affiliates and they perform well enough and the sponsor is happy and they continue with us. But if we double our list and all of the new readers are not affiliates, that sponsor does not get more value. So in the end, they probably won't pay more, or they might even just say like, yeah, you're not really for us anymore.
Mhm.
So it's more complicated, I think, and it depends a
Mhm.
bit more about who you're also getting for the sponsor in the end. I think, as I said, a few years ago, this would have been different. I think, yeah, 2021, 2022 was probably like, okay, if you grow, we just pay more. But now it's like, okay, how much really do we get from it? And then if you grow and we continue to see the same results, so it's like before it was you grow, we trust you that the results will increase, or that's the market dynamic. We just pay more,
Yeah.
and they had more to pay. Now it's more like if you grow more, let's see if we still get more, like one time or something like that. We still do the same. Otherwise, we probably don't like we don't want to take the risk. That's
Yeah.
kind of the overall feeling right now.
But this is very similar to scaling affiliate campaigns in a lead generation space. For example, if everyone, even though you get paid for a lead, eventually that some percentage of those leads should convert into sales for the advertiser. And let's say you have a lead cap of 30 leads a day that you can bring, but they want, I don't know, five of them to buy within 7 days or
Mm-hmm.
whatever the KPI is. But now if you explode your traffic, because on Facebook it's just easy, like you just increase the budget, or later you have an email list that's 10 times bigger, but still your lead cap is so low. And if you, this happened to me a lot actually, which the most frustrating part was I was sending too much traffic and the KPIs didn't catch up as quickly.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like, for example, they would get 30 leads instantly within, you send out an email, That's when the
Yeah.
most traffic comes in. And by lunchtime, they are like, oh, the lead cap for the day is already filled. Please pause traffic. And you're
Like,
like,
yeah, it was sent already. How can you
yeah,
pause?
I can redirect it somewhere else, but actually, it would be better for your KPIs if we keep sending, because
Yeah, yeah.
if I keep sending, but now to another offer, they will probably convert there
Hmm.
because we are redirecting traffic now. So if they come back to this email and read it again and they click it again, they will land somewhere else.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, I remember the cap adventures back when running affiliate campaigns as well. I'm guessing you also had situations where like you just didn't have time where like the possibility to even redirect. You just like cap was gone, or like we had a situation where let's say an emergency cut of the cap happened overnight, and then we were
Yeah.
like, okay, so this few hours of traffic was wasted.
Yeah.
Um, so it happens.
It happens. I mean, if they if they would stop posting back, so the tracker believes it's still working, then you could have the option to redirect based on EPCs or EPV.
Hmm.
So if
Yeah,
an
yeah.
offer is not generating revenue anymore, then automatically other offers will get the traffic. But if not, yeah,
Mhm.
can
Yeah,
stuff
still
like
like
this happens.
what I'm thinking is like in specific cases where it happens overnight, it's like, okay, if it happens for how many hours, right? Because there's also sometimes there are delays in reporting. So the
Hmm.
earnings per click in the end are still
Hmm.
fine. We had several times
True.
where it's like, hey, don't worry, you're still converting well, don't stop traffic. We just have issues
Yeah.
with posting things back to you.
Yeah.
How
Only
do you
posting back
yeah,
once a
it's
day, like
yeah.
yeah. Okay. Well, quite interesting challenges sometimes, but in the
Yeah.
end, um, what you say, the grass. Sometimes we believe always the grass is greener on the other side,
Yeah.
until you're over there and realize there are also challenges. Like there's.
Yeah, I think that's the case. And I mean, I think just so I think there's maybe like an underestimated value of, let's say, an owned product, maybe by some affiliates, because like I said, it might feel more like a grind sometimes. Like you just have to push through some periods because it's like you're not going to just pivot completely right away. Like you can just let a campaign die out and you're whatever. But at the same time, there's probably more long-term value for it, right? Like the value of a campaign is just how much money it can make.
Mhm.
But that's really short term. The value of a business, it's how much money it can make, but it generally has many more years that it can be around in business to make that money. So the lifetime value will probably be higher for an owned business if you can go through, the more challenging and maybe like, and some people just find it boring at some point. So like the more challenging, more boring periods of
Mhm.
time. So yeah, the good thing is for me, like I'm still like it's still very interesting what we're doing and what we're building, and especially like you said, like the type of readers that we have and the interactions that I have with them just make me more positive about it anyway. So yeah, even when it's challenging, there's still so many exciting things that we could do and like that we are trying to do. So
It's still a cool job, isn't it?
yeah, it's like that's the thing. Like even after now, it's going to be 7 years at this point in a few months. It's still like I wouldn't change to do something else. Like I wouldn't
Mhm.
start something from zero or anything like that now.
Yeah, I mean it's pretty much like a 7-year campaign now that you have been
Yeah.
improving week after week. So that's very, very difficult to copy right now if you would start today.
Yeah, and it's also like you realize the longer you're in business or like the same business like we are now, the more sponsors just return to you. So like it
Yeah.
actually gets easier over time to do
Hmm.
sales. Like of course, like I said, there's some variations. Like if people
Hmm.
don't have marketing budgets and stuff, you do have like a downtrend as well. But in terms of how many sponsors return, regularly, it becomes a higher and higher percentage of the total sponsorship base that we have. So some things like become easier in that sense. So that's also interesting.
And also another benefit, not sure if that's one of your goals, but you mentioned the morning brew already, the hustle. Uh,
Mhm.
And a few more in this newsletter space that got acquired by huge companies for many millions.
Hmm.
Is that
I
something
think.
you would like to do? I mean, I know you're on
Um,
the buying side, if you want to talk about that too.
Yeah, well, we bought a couple of smaller newsletters as well that we thought are a good fit. So one of them is Psychology of Marketing, which
Hmm.
we kept as an individual newsletter, and then we also bought a daily marketing newsletter, which we just merged into the Stack Marketer newsletter because it was serving the same purpose. So one as a interesting mix of content and growth, but one was just purely for growth for our own list.
Yeah.
Yeah, even now, like if we find good fit type of newsletters, we would be interested. But I found it harder to find. It's just some people completely stop sending rather than
Hmm.
selling because they couldn't sell for enough in the end. So
Yeah.
yeah, but on the selling side, I think it depends. Like I still like what I am doing, so I'm not in a rush. But if something, just to be very blunt, like if someone comes along and says like, "Hey, the hustle sold for this amount, we're gonna give you like the same amount," I'm like, "Yeah, okay, you convinced me. Drive a
Yeah.
hard bargain, but I accept." I, like the financial part still matters, and it's something
Yeah.
that could change my decision whether we want to, sell, not sell, and where
Hmm.
to go. But yeah, the good thing is like I don't feel like there's some that I know started a newsletter and they had a specific goal in like 2-3 years we have to sell it for around this amount or
Hmm.
we fail type of thing.
Okay.
Maybe it's good in some ways, but in my case I don't have that sort of mindset or pressure. It's like let's just make things like just improve things where we think we can.
Yep.
We have plans, sometimes they work, sometimes they don't.
Hmm.
um, but if the business makes, if the business is interesting and it makes enough money by itself already, we don't have to sell. But
Exactly.
yeah, as I said, if a good partner comes along and makes a good offer, I will definitely listen. So that's something that, and also like I'm trying to, as much as possible, trying to make sure that the way we run our business and the people on the team, it can run without everyone involved all the time. So for example, if someone buys the business in the future,
Hmm.
and they want to have someone else running it except aside from me, then
Hmm.
nothing else crumbles or anything like that.
Yeah.
Or if the business goes well and I want to do something else, but I obviously still want to have a profitable business where I'm an owner, I can, do something else day to day, but the business can still
Yeah.
exist and do good things by itself. So yeah, it's in on my mind and would not say no, but I think for now, there's no specific plan or like not looking to actually find someone to acquire us.
Yeah. All right. Well, not yet.
Yeah, let's see. I don't know. It's very unpredictable. Like early days, there were quite a few people interested. Then it was a bit of a slump in interest. Then, 20 something, 22 again or so, like when it was, let's say, like lowest interest rates and everyone was raising money everywhere. We got
Yeah.
more interest as well, but we never said yes to anything.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I mean, I totally love email marketing based businesses or newsletter first businesses.
Mhm.
I also follow, I think you're running with Beehive as well, probably as a
No, we use Campaign Monitor. I tried out Beehive when we got Psychology of Marketing, so that was on
okay.
Beehive, and so I know a fair bit of what they do. Or like I haven't tried it very recently. They had a lot of updates in the past, like 3 months or so. I
Hmm.
know that much. But yeah, generally pretty strong platform. I think like if anyone starts a newsletter, it's probably my one of the top two. I think Beehive and maybe Kit, although I would probably put
Hmm.
Beehive easier to start with, and then Kit formerly ConvertKit would be the two
Yeah.
options to start off quickly. But we use Campaign Monitor for different reasons. Just better, like more things we can build on top of it.
Hmm.
So their API and their data is like a good mix. Beehive had some reliability things with us that just made me more skeptical about being a long-term customer with them back at that point. And then also, yeah, API access and stuff. It's a little bit, new. It's just like a newer product, not as developed. So yeah, their data is great. API and other things not as good. And it's like for us, there's a cost and effort to switch. So we
Yeah.
have a very
It is.
nice, convenient setup right now. It has to be much better. It cannot be like an
Yeah.
incremental improvement
I
to
agree.
switch. So
Yeah.
yeah,
If it works, it works. Like never change a running system, like you
yeah,
say.
yeah.
But this was now very advanced with APIs. I'm sure a lot of people will know what that means, but especially beginners, that will be probably too advanced anyways. Or to frame it differently, if someone wants to start a newsletter-based business, regardless of if it's a media business model or an affiliate business model, what would you say is the one, two, three most important things to do, and what's the biggest mistake they should avoid?
Uh, Let me think. I think first thing, try to come up with a pretty good content strategy around it. So if whether it's affiliate media, whatever, like if you're doing over email, you want to have emails that get people sticking around. Like you don't need to have the same retention as, Morning Brew or us as StackedMarketer, or like not you don't need to be exactly as a publisher in that sense, but you still need to deliver valuable content
Hmm.
aside from the offers that you're trying to get conversions for. So come up with a content strategy that would make you think like, I would probably read this. Or if you yourself, you're maybe just very like your skills are maybe just copywriting, therefore you need to do research with other customers or potential customers. Like let's say you write something for cooking, but you're not interested in cooking yourself. But of course, you can
Gotcha.
talk to people who have
Mm-hmm.
this passion, and then you can tailor content for them, right? So there's that option too.
Mm-hmm.
So just make something that has the potential to keep people around.
Mm-hmm.
What's enough or not, you have to kind of figure out with the KPIs. Then I guess number two is yeah, just kind of get started. So don't try to make it perfect. Like
Mm-hmm.
the way it works best is just iterate and improve step by step. So you learn, you improve, move quickly with these sort of things, and just when you run into a problem, Google it, ask ChatGPT, whatever. Just try to solve the problem that comes up. You won't be able to pre-solve all your problems from the
Before
beginning.
they
Like
happen,
there's,
yeah.
yeah, so you cannot have an unbreakable system that has no problems coming up. That's
Yeah.
not going to happen. So the more you learn that way, like the more you get experience, the faster you learn, the better you'll get.
Yeah.
Then let's see, number three. Once you have these two going, just clean your list. I think that's kind of the more obvious one. When you do email, if you don't do that, I think it's gonna die out. Like there's
Yeah.
no way. Like if you don't have a clean list, you're just gonna continuously add people who are disengaged, and that's it. I mean, not to be like too pessimistic, but if you're in a business for a few years, inevitably some people that are on your list actually will pass away. So like literally
Mm.
nobody
Mm-hmm.
will use their
Mm-hmm.
email.
Mm-hmm.
So it's only a matter of time till
Yeah.
nobody is actually active on your list, right? In
Yeah.
theory, like that could happen. So just look at that as a necessary, step, and don't get overconfident or overly pessimistic when you see, that, because we both talk about it, like we both run into situations where growth kind of flatlines.
Mm-hmm.
It's not the end of the world. You still get new eyes in there.
Mm-hmm.
That it's just normal, like it happens.
Yeah.
Um, so those are the top three probably pieces of advice, and I guess it covers the mistake of not cleaning your list. So that it's literally the mistake that I've seen the most. Um, and to be fair, it does cleaning your list depends on how frequently you send and what you send. So you
Mm-hmm.
have to find the right balance for yourself. But it's important to do it with every time you send your email. Just see, okay, out of the past, 20 or 30 emails, who did not open any, who did not click any, what are some actions that you can take from there. Try to re-engage them, and if not, stop sending to them. You don't even have to completely unsubscribe them. You can still like segment them in
Mm-hmm.
different place, and maybe in the future you want to send to everyone once in a while. That's fine,
Mm-hmm.
but don't think that everyone is active on your list. It,
Yeah.
it sucks because I know a lot of the times there are people who you know they had a big spurt of growth and they hit like 10,000 and then next time I have to clean my list and I had to delete 500, so now I'm under 10,000 again. It's like that psychological point of like you
Yeah.
went past 10,000 but then you're under again.
Yeah.
It's just a psychological thing. Like it's not really a huge difference, and in the end you have the same amount or even more people opening and reading and engaging with your newsletter. So the real people are just the same ones. Like
It's a
basically,
paradox, really. It's
yeah, the main thing to realize is like whoever you're unsubscribing from your list, they're probably not actually reading anything you say.
and they're just
So
hurting
you
your deliverability anyways.
yeah. So like you're not actually hurting anyone.
Yeah.
There's nobody that stops like yeah. So
They
you're
didn't read
basically
your
just
first 30 emails, so they're
yeah.
not gonna miss the 31st.
Yeah, exactly. So there's nobody who will suffer from it. Like nobody's gonna miss you,
Yeah.
and literally they don't care about you. So it's like you just stop sending because obviously they don't care, and it's fine.
Yeah.
Like not
That's
everyone can read all the newsletters.
Yeah, and I think if you bring it to the offline world, like if you go in a shopping streets, some people will just be window shoppers. Some people will go inside, but just look around without buying, and some people eventually will buy. And if you would spam those people outside all the time, then yeah, it will obviously not be good for the business. And I think the
Yeah,
same is true for
exactly.
email. Yeah?
Yeah, I agree.
Awesome. So, Emmanuel, what are the next steps for Stacked Marketer? And yeah, where do you see this industry going the next few, maybe 1, 2 years, 10 years?
Well, 10 years would be tough to say, but
Yeah.
next couple of years, I think more consolidation. So I think some more
Mm.
newsletters will get acquired by bigger ones. I think that's going to be a trend because
Hmm.
when talking to other newsletter operators, the biggest thing they struggle with is often actually monetizing. It's funny when I write things on social media, people care about growth more, but
Hmm.
in practice, their business needs monetization, not growth. So when you talk to
Interesting.
them in other contexts, you're like, oh, but do you any make anyone? No, we I need to hit this amount of subscribers to then start monetizing, which
Ah.
doesn't really apply to that extent. So monetization is the trickier part, and I think because people won't be able to monetize so quickly as much as they need, there will be more consolidation there. So
Hmm.
it's been happening, especially with AI newsletters.
Hmm.
Those have been popping up a lot in the past, 18 months or so. And in the past 6 months, there have been a few acquisitions and roll-ups there,
Do you
which I
mean
think
newsletters created by AI or
no,
newsletters about
by people
AI?
about AI. So newsletters about news in AI, essentially,
Mm-hmm. Okay.
or like tips, education
Hmm.
about AI, especially ChatGPT and
Hmm.
the likes. So that's been happening already. And I think it will happen to a few other industries as well.
Hmm.
I mean, in a way, you can say with marketing, because we acquired two. I don't know how many others were like acquired or something like that in the meantime. So I think it happens in, let's say, the marketing niche for newsletters too. Um, then I think as just part of the industry, especially the ad side of things maturing more, there's going to be more interest put on um, more tangible metrics, like more actual performance, I think. Or at least are people like are newsletter operators actually reporting as closely as possible the real opens, or are they including all the Apple Mail privacy? Like there will be, I think, more and more attention to real people with real intent from email newsletters as well from the monetization side of things. Those are the two things that I see mostly for the industry right now, how it will develop. I think it's the other thing. It's gonna get easier and easier to start a newsletter. Right now, it's already easiest that it's
Yeah.
been, and it's only gonna get easier,
Hmm.
I think, for a while now.
Do you,
So yeah,
so most of the newsletters are monetizing with ads mostly.
I think so. And
What?
I think there's also a good reason for it.
Mhm. Yeah, I read
Um,
somewhere that you personally don't like affiliate deals in your newsletter because it doesn't
mhm.
take into account the branding value.
I think it's even more so if you do like if you have a B2B newsletter. So if your readers are other businesses for the most part, the data is that for a conversion to happen in B2B or a sale, it takes like 3 to 5 touch points.
Mhm.
Affiliate marketing usually is last touch point, right? So
Yeah,
if
consumer.
someone, if someone hears about a product in our newsletter, but then they sign up through other means, we don't get any
Hmm.
credit for that.
Hmm.
And that can happen. So there's that. Plus, the other side of things is anyone who's listening who has experience with affiliate marketing knows that affiliate programs are not as let's say the rules change fairly often for them. So if you calculate yourself with the lifetime revenue share, or that you want to scale to a certain amount with they have different caps, like all these things that actually prohibit you from realizing the value you provide. I think especially through this kind of email marketing, or like these sort of email placements with a regular newsletter. um, yeah, so for that reason, we usually don't do affiliate deals. We've tried one or two, and it's kind of they went within expectations of like, yeah, it's not really the thing that you can do very frequently. An interesting out of fact is like um, a lot of big brands that people might want to sign up to don't have affiliate deals anymore because they don't need to, right? And
Mm.
that's another thing. Like affiliate deals change, like I said, quickly. So I think in the past few years, SEMrush was a big
Hmm.
switch, and everyone was disappointed. Like public publishers, bloggers that were recommending it, like, oh, all of a sudden I have to like redo my whole thing or something like that.
Yeah.
If you do Amazon, I think technically they don't allow email with Amazon Associates, but bloggers used to do good commission with Amazon Associates, and then the news was like, okay, commission was cut, and it was cut again. Then now it's
Yep.
like it's incomparably smaller than it was before. So these things change so quickly that you cannot really plan with them enough. I think if you do kind of CPL, CPC type of things, especially CPL, cost per lead, or
Hmm.
whatever type of conversion like this, it can work. I mean, it obviously does work with if you do more email marketing rather than email newsletter
Yeah.
type of flow.
I mean,
But for this kind of thing, I think it's difficult. That's why we don't like it. It just doesn't add up. That's the reason why.
yeah. Yeah, it makes sense. Definitely different for B2B and B2C newsletters. Because as an
Mm,
affiliate, I mostly do B2C
yeah.
newsletters because that's, for example, if you have a survival email list for the survival industry, then first there's a lot of content you can write, and then second there's a variety of products that you can promote.
Hmm.
But and if you have a special deal or discounts for each of those products, then there's also a benefit for them to buy inside the newsletter versus
Yeah.
going direct or something. Yeah, that's super interesting.
One small thing that because just you mentioned it, like we've noticed that small discounts don't make a bit difference for B2B. So
Yeah,
it's like
yeah,
if someone offers a 10% off on a 99 per month plan, that won't move the needle for a business to buy or not buy the product. But for a
That-
consumer to buy or not buy a gadget, that's like, oh, better than when if I just buy it from somewhere else. I'm gonna buy from you, right?
yeah. They're not so much invested usually. The consumers, if they can, they will buy it anyways. So if they can buy it
Hmm.
for 10 or 20% off, so why not?
Yeah.
It's and I think there's the only B2B newsletter, if we want to call it a newsletter, would be AppSumo, who
Uh-huh. Yeah. Yeah.
I think they have 1 million people on their list easily, but they have a very special deal. For example, instead of paying monthly for a subscription, you can get special deals
Yeah.
on a lifetime basis. So that's a huge B2B impact, maybe, because if you would buy
Yeah.
an SEO tool anyways, and
Yeah.
you would pay $50 a month, or you can have it,
Or
I
like
don't know, 50
150 or
bucks
something.
lifetime,
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a big difference. All right.
Yeah.
Emmanuel, this is so much information, so much super interesting stuff, very advanced. It's very easy to see that you're an absolute professional when it comes to newsletters.
Thank you.
Success doesn't happen overnight. I think that's also clear. So for everyone chasing quick money, overnight success, they should probably go somewhere else.
I mean, there's a funny saying like overnight success is built over the years, right? So
Yeah,
I think
exactly.
that the overnight part just comes when you get that tipping point and everyone knows about you in some way, right?
Yeah.
Like you probably don't see like all the effort that happened before.
And for me, newsletters are similar to investing with the compound effect.
Yeah,
So when you have one subscriber on your email list, your dividends basically will not be huge. And
yeah,
but if you have eventually maybe 100,000 people on your email list, now all of a sudden it makes more financial sense as well. So
yeah, for sure. Like
that,
over time compounding effects, even if your list size does not increase, it's just there's other benefits to it. So
yeah. I mean, you can
for
still
sure.
send emails. Stop media buying and send emails only to
Yeah,
squeeze to
yeah,
increase yeah, your overall profits. And that's a pretty
yeah.
cool model. And I'm hoping that some of our viewers will take action and start building their own email lists or newsletter-based businesses. And if you're interested in that, you have an amazing newsletter yourself called Stacked Marketer, stackmarketer.com probably.
Yep, that's correct.
I will put the link in the show notes and for everyone to subscribe there. It's a free newsletter, trends, tips, practical advice in what is it, less than 7 minutes a day?
Yeah, it used to be less than 5, but we had to adapt
Yeah.
it a little bit because we added a few more bits of content. So now it's
Yeah.
7 minutes.
Yeah. It's a pretty cool newsletter. I highly recommend it. I've been reading it since 2019 and it never gets boring.
Awesome.
Yeah. Okay. Is there anything last words you would like to share?
No, just thanks for having me. Hope everyone enjoyed the tips. And if there's any other questions that come up, feel free to reach out. Either as a reply to the newsletter or on social media. If you search for my name, you'll probably see my profile. So just
Yeah.
reach out and happy to clarify. Or if this gets posted on YouTube and there's comments, just also perfectly fine. So wherever it's more comfortable for you, feel free to ask any questions, any follow-ups. Glad to try to clarify.
Perfect. And if we get a lot of questions, we'll do a part 2.
Excellent.
Okay, Emanuel, thank you very much and see you soon.
Bye bye.